Hello everyone, Monty here, and today I'm going to talk about the importance of ridding yourself of toxic people, toxic relationships, and toxic situations. Now, I haven't done this chat in a long time, and usually I do it in reference to, you're being on program for weight loss and for health, but it's especially important right now with Corona, with how stressful it is. So, I don't talk about how stressed I get a lot of times, but I do. I'm very anxiety ridden. Corona's taken a toll on me too, but maybe the difference with me is when I feel that anxiety coming over, I try to shift my focus through exercise. You always talk about how exercise, releases endorphins into your bloodstream, and it has like the same effect as morphine. It's like a feel-good chemical, makes you uplifts the spirit. I know my brother died of cancer, and I had to take my mother to Switzerland, where my brother lived, and I saw the pain of my mother, and how she was dealing with it and dealing with all the grief of losing my brother. Exercise is one thing that kept me sane because I felt like I had so much on my head. Not only did I lose my brother, I was worried about my mother's health. She wasn't doing well. We were in a foreign country. I was worried about her in cold temperature, getting her in and out of the car and the airports, and it was a lot. Exercise helped me a lot. But one thing I've learned over the years, and as I get older, I'm going to be 57 in 2 weeks. My mom's birthday was on Saturday, mine's a week from this Saturday, that I'm getting more selfish, and I think a good selfish, where if somebody doesn't add value to my life and make me happy and support me for who I am, although I'm not perfect, but unless somebody accepts me for who I am and where I am and what I can bring to the table, then I don't need them in my life. And if they're not adding positivity to me. So let's talk about toxic people. So I always talk about this. When you're on like a weight loss regime and you start losing weight, I remember when I first lost this last weight loss, which was like 30, 40 pounds, I got so ripped. I was 15 pounds lighter than I am now. I was 8% body fat. I looked like somebody at a Muscle and Fitness magazine. And the haters came out. Oh boy, did I realize who were not my friends. People were saying I looked sick, asking me if I had cancer, if I had AIDS. I mean, the things that came out of people's mouth blew me away. I even got so freaked out by it, I started allowing myself to buy into it. I went to my doctor and I said, what's the deal? Am I too skinny? And this is where I think I look the best. He's like, Monty, you're the healthiest. I was like 54, 53 at the time. He goes, Monty, you're the healthiest 53-year-old I've ever seen walk through here. Tell everybody to shut the hell up. He went on the scale, showed me how much I could weigh in a range on the healthy scale. I still wasn't at the bottom of the range. He says, you're perfect. Don't listen to anybody. So one of the things you'll learn is that when you make any change in your life, sometimes that's going to make others feel threatened. And if you get a promotion, or whether you lose weight, whether you are financially secure, some people are not going to be happy for you. And they are going to be toxic and be like a hater. What you find out when you go through a big life change, whether it's good fortune, weight loss, health, or you just change, pick up new hobbies, new friends, you'll find out who are the people that really support you and say, that's great, I'm so happy for you, and those who are going to make little digs. And I think, I talked a long time ago about, it's like your positivity tank gets drained by all this negative stuff. We turn on the news, I'll talk about that in a minute, and we hear about all the bad things happening in the world, and all the things happening with the bipartisanism in this country, and it depletes us of our negative energy, and then we have these haters. Maybe people at work, which is a little bit more difficult, and we'll talk about that to get rid of these people, or relatives that we feel that we can't get rid of, and you pick up the phone, and even though with Corona you're not seeing them face to face, it's a negative drain on you, and it's just so draining, and it drains and drains and drains you, and it gets to the point where I think that's when you end up depressed, when you just deplete your positivity tank, as I call it. And you need to fill up your tank by, and I always talk about this, random acts of kindness, lifts you up spiritually, mentally, gives you a good feeling about yourself. Exercising gives you those endorphins, makes you feel good about yourselves. And you've got to do things, keeping your house in order. I always talk about this, being well groomed, wearing something nice. All these things create positive images and feelings inside of you and makes you feel good. But these people are like those positivity suckers, and they just drain you of any positive energy in your body, and they're toxic. They are just so toxic to your overall mental health. I can't say this enough. So I'll tell you some personal things. So a lot of the times we think that just because somebody's a family member, we can't get rid of that person or get rid of, that relationship. And I got to tell you, I'm not telling anybody out there to get rid of your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, but at some point you have to do an evaluation and say, can I really deal with this person? And maybe you just take a little break. I know some people I know said they're not talking to their family members so after the election because they're on the other side that they're on. And maybe that's a good idea. Maybe there are some people you just want to avoid until the election is over, and hopefully things will get a little bit quasi back to normal. I mean, it's hard with Corona, but maybe there won't be this division, this real hard, fast division and hatred between the two groups, and maybe things will get better. I sure hope they will. So maybe you just take a little break, but maybe you do get rid of that person, even if they are a son, a mother, a father, a brother. I'll tell you from my perspective. So I've got an older brother who, for whatever reason, has always felt jealous of me. And I gotta tell you something, the funniest part is I always say, I don't know why he's jealous of me. In my mind, he's won at life, financially at least, right? He's a multi-millionaire. The guy's like so rich, it's ridiculous, right? But he's always been digging on me and making nasty comments. I haven't talked to him for 21 years. I have a niece and nephew. I had another brother who died, who lived in Switzerland, no kids. I have no kids. My mother's only grandchildren are these two children. She doesn't even talk to them anymore, which is awful. I'll go into that in a minute. But my brother I haven't talked to in 21 years. I've maybe met my niece and nephew who are like 22 and 23, maybe 5 times in my whole entire life at a family function. And it's sad, but my brother is so toxic to me and so verbally abusive. I knew 21 years ago I could not have a relationship with him. I just couldn't take it. It was constant negativity, constant toxicity to my system. And my other brother didn't get along with him that well either, because my brother's a very difficult person. But he kind of dealt with him just so he could have a relationship with his niece and nephew, which he was very close with my niece and nephew. They would go to Europe, every summer to spend with him. My brother would come a couple times a year and spend time with the kids. But I just knew that relationship was not for me. And I did try for a year to have a relationship with my brother in between that 21 years, like maybe year 10. I tried another year, and it just was the constant toxicity, insults, verbal abuse. And I said to myself, I was such a happier person with him not in my life. So I don't regret getting rid of that toxicity whatsoever. And he was also very toxic to my mother. And let me tell you something. You don't see a side of me. I can be a very high-strung, very glass half full kind of guy sometimes. My mother is the total opposite of me. She sees the glass not half full. She sees it overflowing. She's always happy. When she had cancer, she still had a smile on her face. Isn't the hospital beautiful? I mean, her spirit is unbelievable. And I would love to be like her. I think genetically I'm more like my dad. I think genetically it's almost impossible for me to be like her, but I definitely can work towards getting more like her than I am today. He is so horrible to my mother that she hasn't talked to him now in over 2 years. And she said he's dead to me. I know he's my son. But again, she just realized he was too toxic. She only had a certain amount of time left on this earth. And even though he's a blood son, she doesn't want to be exposed to that toxicity. There are these people that, I learned this from psychology, that some people, negative attention is better than no attention. And because he was so difficult, we kind of kept our distance from him. And every time it was quiet for a long time, he'd do something awful. And I believe it was to get some attention, because to some people, negative attention is better than no attention whatsoever. And some people live on that constant state of drama and they thrive on it. It's like a rush to them to create drama and horrible situations. You're probably nodding your head right now when I'm saying this. And so my advice to you is get rid of those toxic situations. Go out and Google some of this. I've read so many articles in psychology today, because I'm human, and I always say, well, sometimes people are very judgmental. I think, well, first of all, there are a lot of people out there like me. I'm sure some of you are sitting there right now nodding your head too, that have cut out close friends that you've had for 30 years. It's another thing. A lot of times, it's not a family member. You've had a friend for 30 years, and you think, well, I can't get rid of this person because I've been friends with them for 30 years. I've got too much invested in them. If they're toxic, you need to get rid of them. I am telling you, you will be so much happier. I had a friend. It's really funny. I've had this situation happen a couple of times. When you're a gay man like me and you've got a best friend who's a woman, you connect on a level that their husband or boyfriend could never connect on. They just couldn't, right? And so many times I've had relationships ended because the husband was getting toxic towards me. And it just wasn't worth being friendly with that person anymore. A friend that I had for 30 years, the same thing. The husband would hang up if I said something kidding around, like sometimes I kid around with my friends, like, oh, listen, bitch, and he'd hang up the phone, he didn't like that, or something he thought that wasn't, very nice. He'd hang up the phone while I was talking to her, she had it on speaker, and just very, very, and it became toxic for me. The whole relationship just became, I said, look, she's married to this person for many years. I don't want her to choose me over him, but I'm not choosing her over him. I can't take it, And I've always been happier for it. And I just got to say that right now, when we are in Corona, with all these horrible things, we got to focus on doing things that make us happy and get rid of things that don't make us happy. And sometimes they're people and they're long-term relationships, they're close people, relatives, long-term relationships, and sometimes situations. Let's talk about that for a minute. Like, I don't want to be in a situation where if somebody's on my page and I know that, and it's not that they have a different political view from me and that they're Republican versus I'm Democrat, because I really don't even feel like a Democrat. I feel like I'll vote for whoever the best person is, okay? And, but if somebody's going to make a nasty comment on my page or doesn't like one of my posts and they're going to post something nasty, it's my page, it's like my home, I can post whatever I want, I'm blocking them. I blocked probably over 100 people in the last week, and I had like probably another 200 people that unfollowed me, which is great, because I actually am happy. It's like less toxicity and less toxic people on my page. I've seen some people make nasty comments to other my followers who made a positive comment on one of my little, could be perceived political, posts, and I blocked them. And it's just, again, if you have nothing nice to say, especially when it's my page, like my home, say nothing at all. My mother taught me 2 wrongs don't make a right. I don't go to their page and say, oh, you this, that, and I just block them. Never respond, I just block them. I rid myself of the toxicity. Now, sometimes at work, it's a little harder if you find out there's a toxic person, but you have to find ways to avoid that person like the plague. I do that all the time. One of the things when I was face to face with people, if somebody was being toxic, the kind of person at work that's complaining about everything at work, and I just can't handle that. So I will say, excuse me, I gotta go relieve myself, or I gotta go use the restroom, and I'd be laughing on the way to the restroom. I'm relieving myself of the toxicity. So I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, I've read so many different articles in Psychology Today. I had a couple of really good ones on toxic relationships, on why you should remove toxic people from your life. Google some of those and read them, and these are professionals. I do have a degree in psychology, but there's other psychologists that are saying, it is very important to, rid yourself of toxic relationships. And especially now with Corona, I try to focus on, again, eating well, exercising when I get really stressed out, and doing nice things for others. My new thing is having pizza parties and dinner parties and giving gifts with people when they come to my house, the aprons with the funny sayings. These things make me happy. I'm creating long-term memories with my friends, and I'm trying to enjoy this time at home, thinking new creative ways to have fun, rather than just sit back and say, woe is me, I'm in the house all the time, which, believe me, it's getting to me. It's really, really getting to me. It wasn't until recently. It's really getting to me. But we need to always shift gears and say to yourself, how can I make myself happier and healthier? Learn to cook. Be good to yourself. Make sure your house is in order. Make sure you're doing things for other people. And we can do it through healthy food. I've had so many dinner parties, so many pizza parties. Everybody's had a blast. I'll have memories of those nights for a long, long time. My friends said the same thing. They're all replicating it, and they're having pizza parties at their house, or they're making pizza, and it's just a lot of positive energy going around. So again, I can't tell you guys enough to start reevaluating all the people, relationships, and situations in your life that are toxic. Like watching the news for me is toxic. I can't totally get rid of the news yet, but I'm trying real hard. You got to remove that toxicity from your life, because times are tough right now, and we all have to think of creative ways that we can live our lives happier and healthier. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's chat, and I'll be talking to you soon.